You know what? I'm gonna record this and then just send you the link.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. So as I was saying, so right now there's three things that's happening. The US is printing a lot of money. We're very divided in terms of the culture here, with Republicans and Democrats. You also have a new power coming in. That's China challenging the old power that is America. America is we are really bad on money. So there's no way we're getting out of this debt. And crypto is actually a way for us to get out of this debt.
Mm.
But all our politicians, I don't know about the Australian political system. Everybody's like over 65. So they know nothing about like how to turn on their iPad, let
Yeah,
alone crypto.
right, right.
So they're making choices that are not good. You like buying Bitcoin is a hedge against the inflation that's being caused by the printing of money. So everybody, like all the rich, what we're all doing is we're just buying Bitcoin and buying Ethereum. And to give you a number, you should have at least five Ethereum. That's what I learned from the academy that I'm in right now. I'll let you know about it at the end of this like the session. But we're all
Mm.
buying Ethereum and Bitcoin because Bitcoin, there's only 21 million Bitcoin in the world. So what humans value is scarcity. Before Bitcoin, there was gold, but the thing about gold is we don't know how much there actually is. Yes, it's scarce because we only have that much gold that is locked up in Fort Knox that we know about. But if people wanted to dig for more gold, then they could just like invent more drills and start drilling into the earth to look for more gold or go into space and mine some more gold. We don't know how much gold there is in the universe. But Bitcoin, we know that there is a hard 21 million Bitcoins. That's why knowing that number, knowing that
1
supply,
million.
yeah, 21 million. And that's the total supply. But since at the start of Bitcoin's life, people didn't really give a shit about it. So what they did is they lost their Bitcoin because we didn't store it. We didn't have any of these wallets that we have right now that is more secure. People literally just store it on their computers, on their hard drives, and then their computer gets thrown out. They threw away their Bitcoin. So you could say that there's only going to ever be 17 to 18 million that's really going to be available for us to have. So the goal right now for most people is just like who got in like at this time, even for me, is just to acquire one Bitcoin because looking at where things going, people are projecting that one Bitcoin will eventually be at least $1 million.
Jeez.
Because if you look at it this way, we're printing a lot of money. So we're devaluing our currency. Like this year in America alone, inflation was up 7%. So if I was making $100,000 at the end of the year, what I actually made was $93,000, right? Because it's 7% inflation. So there's around 52 million millionaires in the entire world. And they're smart people. They're not dumb in order to become millionaires.
Hmm.
So at the time, not everybody has bought into Bitcoin. Like there are millionaires that just like worked through the years and accumulated $1 million, bought a house. But when shit hits the fan, like hyperinflation happens, then everybody will start ramming into Bitcoin, especially the millionaires. And if there's only 21 million Bitcoin and you have 52 million millionaires, there's not enough to go around.
Mm.
So $1 million Bitcoin is a conservative amount because if 52 million people wants at least one Bitcoin, what is the price going to be? It's going to be way more. Even if you double it by 2 million, that's only going to be 42
That's a
million.
that's a crazy concept. Wow. Okay. That is, I've never thought of it like that. I didn't even know that it was 21 million.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Wow.
that's a really important thing to know. It's just like once you get into it, you start learning about how macroeconomics work, how human behavior works, and then you're kind of like, shit, I gotta start accumulating Bitcoin, right? So a
Yeah.
lot of us are calling this as kind of like the change of generational wealth because we have all these old guys like big bankers. They're not into Bitcoin yet. Well, the super smart guys are, but the guys that are like 80, like Jamie Dimon, who's the CEO of Chase, they're not holding Bitcoin. So when the situation becomes bad, they're gonna be buying Bitcoin at $1 million because that's the going rate. So all of us who owns Bitcoin now, who is accumulating, we're gonna be having $1 million Bitcoins, and we won't even sell it, because what you can do with Bitcoin is you can loan it out to institutions or to people who want to borrow it, just like the bank loans out money for you when you buy a house, right?
So
So,
people who own Bitcoin could essentially become their own personal bank.
yep. So having Bitcoin, having Ethereum, you are your own personal bank. And the thing is, when you're loaning out money, you're getting interest on that loan, right? They're paying you.
Mm.
But at the same time, if you take out a loan on yourself, you could take out a loan on your Bitcoin yourself, right? So you could live off of that loan. And when you
Yeah.
take out a loan, that is not income. So you don't pay income tax. Does that make sense?
So you would pay, essentially, you'd be paying yourself back,
Yeah.
even though, and so you wouldn't be losing money, you'd just be circulating within itself.
Yeah. So let's say that, I don't know, income tax for me is, they're trying to raise it to like 40% or something ridiculous. So if I took out a loan from, or if I made $100,000 and I had to pay income tax on that, then that would be 40 grand that I have to pay at the end of the year.
Mm.
But if I needed money and I have Bitcoin and I can loan myself 100 grand, then I'm paying 4% per year, right? So of that 100 grand, I'm paying $4,000 of interest instead of paying income tax, giving the government my money. Does
Mm.
that make sense to you? Is the
It
numbers
does.
kind of
Yeah,
working?
it
Yeah.
does. So what do you project potentially this number to hit by the end of the year? Because there's people obviously all around the world, and I mean myself, for example, I can't afford to just go out and buy one Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Um,
A lot
like
of us are like that.
yeah, it's like that's 70,000 Australian dollars right now.
Yeah.
And to most people, to the average, like that's about average person, that's about 2 years' salary.
Yeah.
Um, what are your projections for where it'll be at in by the end of this year, 2021?
Um, so September has been a really bad time. Usually historically, September is the best time to buy because like China had the Evergrande crisis, and at the beginning of the month we had a big dip. So I was buying during that time. Um, I can't give you a really good projection for the numbers. Like my mentor at IM Academy pretty much said, I'm looking for Bitcoin to hit 160K up to the six figures. And within the next 5 years, or maybe even earlier, it'll hit somewhere at 300,000 per coin, right? And that is a conservative number because, like I said, with the millionaires and how much money they're printing, it's a hedge. That's why people want it. So
We're
at the end,
still so even in this this sense right now, if we start planning and say, okay, well, my goal in 4 or 5 years is to own a Bitcoin, it's not gonna. You don't think it'll be sold out by that point?
uh, I don't know what you, well, if you mean sold out, that means like too hard to get in terms of the
Yeah, it
price.
makes sense. Yeah,
I'm thinking, yeah, that's why, like, for me, I'm all about like building my passive income streams and making as much money as I can to accumulate Bitcoin, right?
yeah.
So,
That's exactly why I've started. That's why I wanted to talk to you, especially
yeah.
trying to make as
So,
much money as possible to just buy more crypto.
so the best you can do, the best strategy that all of us have adopted is just to dollar cost average and just buy at the right time.
Mm.
Timing the market sucks, but it's also a mindset, because when everybody is selling, that means everybody is scared. That is when the big dips happen, and that is when the opportunity presents itself. That is also the time when I always buy, because the rich knows that when people are scared, that's a good opportunity for you to pick up some coin, because the thesis is the government is printing a lot of money. There's 52 million millionaires and there's only 21 million Bitcoin, 17 to 18 million, because like 3 million, 4 million of them are lost. So that's the thesis. And if you look at the charts, let me share my screen with you for a little bit. So can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can.
Right. So Bitcoin is the best performing asset for the past 10 years. So if you
Mhm.
look at this graph right here, this is Bitcoin, and it looks kind of scary in the day, right? This is just a day range, because you see all these like highs and then you see this big drop,
Mm.
and this big drop here is in September. If you even go down even more, let's say in the 1 hour, that's less scary maybe, but you could see that kind of goes up between this zone of 37 to 52K, then dropping back down. A lot of people can't handle that, right? But let's take ourselves out of that view. Let's take ourselves into a weekly view. So if I do that, and you look at this chart here, from 2014, it's really only been going up, right?
Mm.
I mean, we had this high here in November 17, and it dropped all the way down. And at that time, if you're just looking at this part of the chart, yeah, that's pretty scary. But zooming out and looking at the whole thing, if you bought in at like, let's say you bought in here at December 17, you put in 20K. Right now, we're still at 43,000. So you still more than doubled your money, right? So no other asset class right now have this kind of performance. And the people who sees this, like the Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, Elon Musk, Michael Saylor, they're like, yeah, this is a no-brainer, considering just the mess the governments are causing with our financial system. So I hope that kind of like opened your eyes a little bit on just
Yeah.
where we're going with
So
Bitcoin.
what's to say that if there's only 21 million Bitcoin, what's to say that one person can't just buy them all and then have the same, and then it end up being centralized again?
Because if you buy them all, then the simple answer is no one has enough money to do that, other than the US government. And even then, they won't have enough money to do that, because if you're buying up the supply, if one person is buying up the supply, up to one point, the price is going to be out of range for you to buy all that Bitcoin. Because let's say let's say let's say I have 100 of these tokens, right? And if everybody had one token and all of them, it's equally distributed, each one is for $1, then if you bought like just 20 of them, that would make the price higher for the other 80, right? Because there is demand for that coin.
Mm.
So you could say that the price of that coin is now $80 per coin, or $20
Yeah.
per coin.
Yeah.
So it exponentially adds up because of demand. That's just a simple economics of demand and supply, or supply and demand. So nobody in the world has enough money to just buy out the entire network right now, especially with the Bitcoin at $40,000.
Yeah.
That's the
So,
thing.
okay, so that's kind of how the market works. So someone buys one Bitcoin, it'll go up a little bit, and then if someone sells their Bitcoin, it'll drop, and then
Exactly.
continue. That's exactly how it works.
Yeah. So Michael Saylor, who was, I don't know if you know him, he's a pretty big guy over here in pretty big influencer in Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
So what he did, because when he found out about the thesis behind this like 1 or 2 years ago, he was buying increments of Bitcoin. He was literally at the computer every day, putting in like $10,000, $20,000, just incrementally when he had like $11 million or no, not like $100 million to invest, right?
Mm,
So just investing incrementally because he knew that if he put in $100 million in one go, that's gonna skyrocket the price like crazy, and he
mm,
wouldn't get the amount that he has now. So that's a bad strategy.
mm. So regardless of how much money you have, you want to be buying it strategically.
Absolutely, yeah. That's with any crypto, and Ethereum would be your other one that you want to look at because Ethereum is like digital gold or digital oil.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about like Bitcoin as digital gold, and to use an analogy, think about all the things that use oil in the world, like your railways use oil, your planes use oil, factories use oil, cars use oil. So Ethereum is kind of like the oil, and there's already a bunch of decentralized applications that do lending and exchanges that needs to use that oil every single time a transaction happens. So that's why we were seeing kind of like transaction fees on
Yeah.
Ethereum for $500 US per transaction.
Mm. So what's your like the counter to that is what I've been looking into a little bit with Solana. What's your thoughts on Solana and um, the less gas fees that provides in that sense?
Oh yeah, that's a great project. Um, but it's too late, bro. Don't get into it.
It's too late.
Yeah, I would say get into it when it was at the start of the year when I think it was like under a dollar because it went from under a dollar to over
200.
$100.
Yeah, it's at 200 for us. 200
Oh
Australian.
yeah. Yeah. So everything that goes up like that has to go down at some point, and we already seen a down. So another one of my mentors who kind of like ran over it with us told us that like, yeah, man, if you rode it all the way up to 120 something US dollars, sell out now. That's what he would personally do because everything that goes up must come down. That's basically the idea behind it.
Mm.
Uh,
So you don't think it could potentially be a like because there's like different ways that it can work with Ethereum and whatnot. You don't think it could stay stable or at least grow a little bit? You think it could just plummet completely?
yeah, I mean we already see it kind of falling, I think. Let me share my screen. Am I still sharing my screen? Or
No.
did I do that again? So let's see. Do I have Sol here? Yeah, it's at $140. Yeah, so if you look at this chart here, I think it's February or December, January 21, it was $11. Everything that shoots up like this has to come down eventually, basically. That's the idea. So if you go to the hourly, you could see that from its all-time high, which was, what was it, of $215 US, it already retraced back to 140 right now. And that's because that's how things work. We're always looking at zones. And right now, you see these lines that I have here. Those are pretty much like the zones where I think they will find support. So each one of these lines, they're called Fibonacci lines. I'm not going to go too much in detail, but it pretty much gives you some levels of where you could basically find where price will potentially stop at or continue falling. So let's get rid of this.
So what's
So
this is your trading view? Do you daily trade as well?
I do, but I trade with the mentors at the academy because I am horrible at trading. Just to be
Yeah.
honest, but I'm learning here and there, and these are the techniques that they use when it comes to trading. But it's the same techniques that I use when it comes to investing as well. So I know when to pick up uh, a crypto at a good price. I know when to pick up Bitcoin at a good price, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So using these Fibonacci lines, it's like if we're at the all-time high here and it falls, then this would be kind of like a line that is of interest. And if it goes below that line, then it's the next line. If it falls below that line, it goes to this line. So you could see that on this line here, which is 140 bucks. It was a history of price action here where price was hovering here. It was wondering whether it was a good price here. So what happened here is it actually like broke through, it rocketed all the way up, found out that it's too expensive, fell all the way back down. Now we're at a price where we were hovering at in history. So it's going to test that again, and it didn't break through. So it goes back up. But after this time, it broke through and it tried to test the next line, which is the price at $123. And in history, there was this area here that acted as resistance. It resisted the going up any further, shot it back down. And using that history, we decided that this is an interesting point. So this time acted as support. So it went back up again. And now we're just kind of consolidating in this area. We're not sure what happened. Like this might be a good price. This might be the actual price that Solana is worth to the market. So that's kind of like what I've learned at the academy that I'm a part of.
Yeah.
Hope that kind of makes sense to you, because we got kind of advanced and technical for you there.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Like I'm not definitely not a specialist, but I have been doing a lot of research, just listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, reading, doing a lot of stuff. And like I said before, I kind of wanted to fully understand it first before I start, heavily trying to invest. So yeah, tell me about the IM Academy and what's kind of happening there and how people would get involved.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a subscription service. It's kind of like Netflix actually, but they can actually they actually teach you everything that you need to know about crypto. So
Mhm.
this was the service that I used back in September. I met a guy, he told me about it. I knew nothing about crypto. He said, like, give it a shot for 1 or 2 months and see what you think. You can quit at any time because the subscription is not a Netflix subscription, right? It's
Yeah.
$175 US per month. So it's quite expensive for some people. But I think if you're running a company like I am, you could write it off. Here in the US, we have write-offs, but you can go to strategies here. Or was it strategies? I don't think it was strategies. Let's go back. It was academies. And they basically teach you everything you kind of need to know. So for example, over here, they have what you need to learn about digital exchanges. So you can go to enroll. And it's kind of like a tutorial of what are digital currencies, what are pips. Pips are when you're actually doing trading. So a lot of the people who join IM Academy also have also do daily trading. And the idea behind that is because the people who are educating you on this platform are 7 to 8 figure entrepreneurs and traders. So what they're doing is we have an app called Swipecoin, and when they have a trade idea, which they have one like either every day or every other day during this month, then you could take the same trade as your mentor, because if you're doing it yourself, you might lose a lot of money if you kind of have no experience, which is what a lot of retail investors do. They're like, oh, I'm just gonna buy it because my friend told me to buy it. No, you don't do that. You look at the charts, you see whether the price is a good time to buy right now. So, they teach you about spreads, time frames, stuff like that, the blockchain. So pretty much, I think that's what you're kind of researching right now with crypto. Uh, there is another thing which was, and I'm giving you the speed briefing here. So if you want, I could send you kind of like some videos that I did that goes more in depth about this. because I'm not trying to waste your time.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely open to. I'm open for all these kinds of conversations too. Like I'm definitely not as pressed for time as I should be. Yeah, sitting around over here at the moment. So I'm very, very open to just learning and talking to the right people.
Yeah, so they go through margin and leverage because what we do when we're trading is we're leveraging as well. So it's kind of like for a lot of the trades with Bitcoin, with one of our go live presenters is Bitcoin. So when we trade Bitcoin, it's like you're risking $5, but you could potentially gain like $60 on a trade, right?
Mhm.
So the probability and the risk ratio is pretty good. So the three that I follow here, we have a bunch of educators, as you see, and Curtis Cobain is probably the guy you want to listen to when you're starting out, because he has this class called Beginner Altcoin Education. So we did not talk about all the other coins. Like you talked about Solana. Now Solana is an altcoin and it's not based on Ethereum, but there's also like a lot of other coins that are on the Ethereum blockchain that makes it really expensive. And he goes through all about it here. He also drops like coins to invest in. Not sure if you've heard of Cardano. Have you heard of
Yeah,
Cardano?
I have like um that's the one, that's the main one that my when I first got involved in this about a year ago, my good friend and mentor has been telling me about Cardano, and he showed me how much he ended up profiting it from it a year later, and I was like, okay, yeah, I need to wake up to this.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have 321
nice.
of them right now.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what price you bought him at, but Cobain gave me the tip off. So a lot of us got Cardano at like 20 cents. So we were early, and he was like, just hold it because it's gonna blow up. And lo and behold, it blew up. And he's also I don't know if you heard of Matic as well, but that's a pretty popular one as well, Polygon Matic.
Polygon Matic, yeah.
Yeah, so that one, and right now I think it hit an all-time high of like $2.45 or something. And when he told people to buy it, unfortunately, I wasn't there to hear that one. But a lot of people got in at like 10 cents. So
Yeah.
so that was like, bro. But he goes through a lot of these sessions, and let me bring you back. So Crypto Picasso talks a lot about Bitcoin, and let me just play one of his videos for you, because a lot of what they say is sort of repetitive as well.
All right, looks like we
But
are live.
at the same
And
time,
then
it's
that's
like
what has been added.
very good
So this
information.
is what categories this.
Let's see.
That is the time for these things, and this is like a game of chess. There's only so many
Does it
moves
sound
that
good
the
for you?
market's going to make, and you
Yeah.
kind of like got to anticipate them and wait for them to play out. But if you understand that we're in a time that could affect the emotions of the traders, then you have to respect that. I mean, if you just Google search Mercury retrograde on your own and read about its effects, you may find that that's why the last 3 times you went out to eat, the waiter couldn't get your order right, or your messages haven't been sending, or all of a sudden your notifications sound different. Or for me, I just turned on my computer and all of a sudden the voice utility's on. Why, right? It's a time of just weird communication stuff, right? That affects the markets. The full moons affect the markets. The full moons affect the emotions of humans, right? So there is greater forces at work in a sense. I think that a lot of people forget about when they trade, because you really do have to have that balance of knowing when is a good time to participate and when is a good time to sit back and wait. And patience is key. Patience is key beyond anything. And we're looking for the same move now that we were looking for 10 days ago, and it may take another 10 days to come. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a bigger picture playing out with the tide of Bitcoin, right? We can't forget the grand cycle in the week or two of just what's it doing, right? The week or two of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So there's things that affect the way that we make decisions, right? The way that we decide to do things, and the way that we interpret. Now, if you guys remember, been following my work for a while, kind of need to take time to sort themselves out, and that's what we're seeing here on this correction. So that influence, right, ends about
Okay, just
100 pips and running, right? But you have to do, right? These waves of fear and greed and impulse can be traced. Understanding that, very true. And if the way the market works, and emotions of the traders, right, like the markets, the full moon of just not in your journey, because you realize that, man, I'm going to take up this side. So hold a large amount of Bitcoin, 1.618. So somewhere so we could come down to turn into a 3 drives pattern, and then another third drive down is what could bring us to that
So,
and break that trend for me to say, hey, wait, we're getting bullish again, and we should.
so right here, what he's saying is that like
about 618.
we should sit right now
because timing,
because
the
we
influence
could
of
go down
finance
lower.
right now, and also the fact that we have to clear some really bigger picture is going on here. If you guys look, it's really like this. We have strong support here, and now that whole thing is like turning into resistance, right? Support, resistance. So we have to literally flip this zone and break that trend for me to say, hey, wait, we're getting bullish again, and we should look fast, right? So that would be a bullish like sign if this one broke that trend and actually put support back in here at that level. But for now, that level is resistance, right? So we can't even look at that as having any real serious progression, let's say, just yet. So if this thing pops up again to this level, then that would mean that it's getting a one drive down, move back up to 618, another drive down, move back up just about 618, maybe tag it twice, and then another third drive down is what could bring us to that.
So did you just catch that? That's why, like for me, I'm sitting right now because if we don't break this zone right here at, let's say like 44, 45K, that is the zone where when we break that in the next couple of weeks, let's say like till mid-October, then we're going higher. Otherwise, if we're staying below here, you might see that we might drop even lower to 34,000, where that is the point where, okay, everybody's freaking the hell out, I'm buying, right? So that's what he's saying there.
38.
So pretty much if it hits 45,000, that's the lowest it'll get in this sector. And if it drops, it's just going to keep going.
Yeah, so that's just based on this theoretical hypothesis, right? But it's based on like what we see in history, because these are like there was support here, support here, support here. This acted as resistance, got pushed back down. So what we're looking at is this is that trend that we see. So right here, this point that I'm hovering my mouse around, if we break through that point, then it looks like Bitcoin is going to climb higher and it's not going to stop. But if we continue on where we are right now, if it falls even lower down to this like point where this line is, it's called the zero, part of the Fibonacci, you'll learn about it, then 40K, it might even drop lower. So we have price points like this is another zone of support here. So that was like 37,000. So if we lose that, we don't make it out of this, which is, I think he said it was like the next 2 weeks or something, then we might fall lower. And people at this point at 37K, they'll start freaking out because there's people that bought in here at 52,000, right? Yeah. And those are people that they don't have the information that I'm giving you right now. They just bought in, mom and pop bought in, their brother, their family friend, their neighbor said, let's buy Bitcoin because it's going high. It's 52K. That's crazy. So they bought in here. Most people can't stomach loss. So once it goes down to 30,000, that's like a $20,000 loss, right? So they're going to be like, we're selling out. And that's how the rich manipulates the poor, because a lot of the people that are holding Bitcoin right now are institutions. They are whales. So they're manipulating the market to siphon money from the poor and grab that Bitcoin, because they know that Bitcoin, at the end of the day, give it 10 years, $1 million, right? So that's the game we're playing.
But the thing is, that's where it was set up for buys. That's not where you panic and get out of the market. Like that's where people go wrong. They're like, oh, if I see it get down that low, I gotta get out. It's really where you should be looking for the buys when that fearful moment happens, right? Let's put a Fibonacci on that as well. See how low that would be. Yeah, 7-1. We'll just hit the 3 drives down. Let's give some Investopedia 3 drives down. I'm limited to the outside stuff that I can show you, but 3 drives down is basically a drive, retracement back up, drive down, equal retracement or similar back up, and then that third drive down. Okay. Something like that could still very well happen. So we could even hit like 36, take out these lows, tag down here, get everybody just like, oh, we're dying, we're dead, we're going 20, and then we get out of the whole retrograde phase right here. So yeah, overall, we're still in the correction. It's leaning down until proven otherwise. To be honest, I would say we're more likely to hit 36, 38 than go up, honest opinion. But the bullish aspect of that would be if we clear this zone, right? This is obviously support, now it's becoming resistance. So technically, we need to break this, turn it into support, and break this downtrend as well. But it looks like we're setting up the beginnings of 3 drives down. We're the 2/3 of the 3 drives down at this point, unless we flip this. Right? And that's what the market's all about. It's all about creating impulses and retraces, flipping support into resistance back into support, breaking trend lines, flushing out people that bought too late, also people that bought too early, bouncing when people are selling too late. I mean, if you just keep in mind that the market is really going to lean towards maximum pain for the majority, if you keep that in your mind in your analysis all the time, you'll start to trade better because you realize, if I put my order here, am I gonna get stopped out? Like, or should I work, or should I wait, right? Or should I wait? Patience is always rewarded in trading. Impatience is never rewarded. Never rewarded. Okay, you have to be super patient in trading. So real clear zone that would need to flip, right? This whole like 44. I mean, I would say honestly, yeah, we can probably get a pop off of that on the scalper, starting right here. Okay, but that's just like I said. This is confirming if this closes. If this one right here closes outside of this line, it's confirming for this. But remember where we're at in the bigger picture, right? This could run up a little bit. Let's just like maybe 1,000, 1,500 pips. Great little
So
move.
what was that? You have to you can set a time for it to buy and sell, like depending on what number it hits, or do you have to actively be there and press buy?
No, you could set it. You could, that's called a buy in, that's called a limit order. So if you buy a limit, if you do a buy on a limit, say I could put a limit buy for 37,000, right? So when it hits 37,000, it would buy the amount that I asked for. So say like, I want to buy $500 worth of Bitcoin when Bitcoin hits 37,000. On an exchange, when it hits 37,000, it'll cash in your $500 for Bitcoin. Or for whatever Bitcoin you can buy, then you would have that Bitcoin, right? So same kind of way with a sell. With a sell limit, basically like you place it above a price. So let's say right now Bitcoin's at $43,000. I want to sell my one Bitcoin at 50,000. So I put a sell limit order in there. So it says that sell this one Bitcoin at $50,000 and the exchange will sell it for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So do people would actively do that because they know the market would drop again, so then they can buy that same Bitcoin that they sold for a little bit cheaper?
Yes, some people do that, but the pros don't do that. The pros just do leverage trades, which like I said before, it's risking $3 to make 60 because you're borrowing money, and your $3, for example, is like a down payment. So if your trade doesn't go well, you lose that $3. But at the same time, you have to be really careful. If you end up getting into that, then I'm happy to walk you through it. And I would definitely walk you through it because I have lost big money doing that, just not choosing the right numbers. So you really need someone to walk you through. But I wanted to, this is what.
That's something that would interest me. I wouldn't, like you said, I wouldn't want, I definitely wouldn't be putting down big money. I'd be trying to like right now, I'd be trying to see if I can find a way to make like, you know, $200 or $300 a day, just off of a couple of small trades.
Yeah. There are definitely people doing that. If you're a really good trader, there are some really good traders. You're definitely making more than that.
Yeah.
Just you're not talking to one.
Yeah. Okay.
But just
I
want to
realize that
go
in the
through
logarithmic
this.
graph, there's more likely a chance that we're gonna. Let me see if I can do this for you guys. Let's put on the DLX. So the trace extensions here. Point in the market. 6.8. Okay. There's a better chance that we are at this kind of a point in the market, just like about here, and just like about here, where the market is ready to put in a strong impulsive move, out of this zone. Right? Now, that will most likely lead towards. I mean, you can even run through it in your mind, right? Let's say we break 64. Everybody starts to be like, man, this thing's going up again, right? Let's say we break 100,000. People are like, start going crazy. $100,000 per Bitcoin, 6 digits. Believe it or not, more people will come in and buy Bitcoin once it breaks 100,000 than would buy it now. I mean, I know it sounds irrational and it sounds completely stupid, but 75% of people losing in the markets all the time because they're making stupid decisions with their money. It's a statistical fact. So people have FOMO, fear of missing out. When the market makes a new high, it goes into price discovery and people chase the price higher. Bitcoin is limited in supply. So once the FOMO kicks in and once the higher numbers become achieved, things can accelerate and things can get out of control and hit greed and euphoria levels. So even though I feel like there's a chance that Bitcoin could hit in the 6 digits by January, I feel like it's not sustainable.
Oh, bro. Did you hear that, man?
No, I just missed that. Sorry. Can you run that back?
Bitcoin is limited in supply. So once the FOMO kicks in and once the higher numbers become achieved, things can accelerate and things can get out of control and hit greed and euphoria levels. So even though I feel like there's a chance that Bitcoin could hit in the 6 digits by January,
6 digits by January. That's his figure.
I feel like it's not sustainable. Just like all of these, pushes off of the 1.618 level were unsustainable in that cycle phase. There had to be a bear market. Watch. After the market confirms that that level can be sustained, okay, it makes a strong move up. This is exactly what I'm expecting in here. Strong move up. But that move up into those levels, okay, like up into these levels, it wasn't sustained. It had to come back down, put in the bottom of the depression and anger, and then reset in anticipation of when the mining reward gets cut in half again. Same thing over here. These levels, after we pushed off of like 1800 strong, with almost 19,800 or whatever, it wasn't sustainable. The market had to bleed all the way back down to 3,000. Okay, and then here, if it pushes off of here and runs into the multiple six figures, it most likely won't be sustainable. So what is it doing? It's setting itself up for the next wave of loss for the majority. Because people that came in here, and I know because I was one of them, I bought my first Bitcoin right here. Bought my first Bitcoin right there in 2013 when it crossed $1,000. I said, man, I'm a genius. This is a revolutionary technology that's going to disrupt the whole world and it's going to be digital gold one day. And people looked at me like I was crazy in 2013 and 14 talking about this stuff. And it was a really bad time for me to buy my first Bitcoin. But if I say to you now, I bought my first Bitcoin at $1,000, you would think that's an awesome price. You were so lucky. But the timing was completely wrong. I got sucked in before you. I had to live through the cycle to realize that's actually what taught me how to trade properly by understanding that all markets, especially Bitcoin, are geared towards loss for the majority. And until you understand that, you will be a statistic. Like until you understand the market is geared towards loss for the majority, you got to know where that loss is happening in order to win. You will lose like everyone else. Like, don't want to discourage you because there is a way to win in this game. But the only way that I found to win in this game is to know where everybody else is most likely going to lose or is losing. And if you look at Bitcoin, every single time that it hits maximum just burnout, like death, out of that death is always renewal. Out of the ashes we will rise with Bitcoin almost every time. So buying the fear, the old strategy of buy the fear, sell the greed works really well in highly emotional markets like this. So if this thing starts to set itself up for a huge wave of greed, when people are chasing the price up in here, you better be getting out of some coins that you've been holding for the last year because it's probably going to bleed back down towards 60 again by the end of 2023. And then gear up again for another bull run in 2024. When what? When the mining reward gets cut in half. All of this, guys, all of the performance of Bitcoin, its price discovery, its supply shocks, all of it has to do with the mechanics of the mining reward deflationary schedule. Like we know how many coins are in existence and how many coins are going to be in existence in the future. And there will never be more made. Whereas other fiat currencies will just keep making them, right? So interesting times. I know these sometimes these corrective waves drag out, but that's just trading. That's just investing. I mean, that's just the way it is. You got days where the price is up, you got days where the price is down, and you got days in between where you're just like, all right, wait for something to finally show itself. And then when it does, it's become the thing is being. I even said this best is having your sales set, right? Even those days that you're not making active trading, just sitting on your hands, right? Staying in the game and having your sales set is what you have to focus on because when that wind of opportunity comes, you got to be ready. And you stay in the game, you study the markets. When that wind of opportunity comes with the trend and the change in trend, you know how to spot it, you know what to look for, you know when to actually hit the gas and get run with it, as opposed to playing around in the chop or playing around in the market where it's not as productive to be in, right? So where we got here, okay, this thing's obviously starting to take off a little bit, but like I said, it would not surprise me.
So if you're looking at this, this is what the app gives you if you're scalping, which means like you are buying and selling within a very short time frame, like 15 minutes to an hour. You got to get in and get out. Just catch the profits and get out immediately. So you just see that, like, for example, from here to here, just how many buys and sells calls that this coin that this app gives you. So there's just a lot of.
Is that over the course of 24 hours?
This is from 26. So here's from 29 to 30. So from 29 to 30, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 opportunities. So there's an algorithm that's running through the price, and it has like some rules. And if it passes those rules, then it makes the call and sends it to your phone. So I don't particularly scalp myself because it's not something that I'm good at. I just got to know your strengths and weaknesses, right? And I also have other things like YouTube that I'm busy with, but some people does this very well. So it's just another, but it's more active than anything because you have to get in there and put in a trade, stuff like that. And the instructors aren't really calling them out. They're calling out swings because like for this, you might make like $20 or something, but for swings, you're making 60, 100, 200, 300 by risking $3 to $5, right? So that's kind of the idea behind that. But I
maybe
think
push it to like 44.5 just with the thrust and the impulse, but remember just resistance lingering above.
yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
All right.
So there's your answer to how much it will be by the end of the year.
It's
Six figures.
potential $100,000 by the end of this year, Elijah. Bitcoin.
Potential 100.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hit 80 something earlier this year, almost 90 something. So that's
Yeah. But this USD.
This USD.
American currency.
That's ridiculous. Okay. So with how does the IM Academy work? Like it's just a one, it's like a program, pay once a month, and you can not do it if you want to after a month or something like that.
Yep, you can quit anytime. I did that myself because I just moved and I needed money. But turned out to be a bad time because that's when they gave out that Matic call. So so you can quit anytime, but at the same time, that's the trading education part that I showed you right now. The other part is network marketing, which people put a bad spin into it, but I think what I showed you right now kind of gave you like the value. That's why I stay in because there's experts telling me
Yeah.
I should probably stay in right now because I potentially see Bitcoin falling down to 36K. That's when we're going to pick up. But if we cross 40, 45, that's a signal that it's going to just go higher. So that's when we start trading. But the network marketing side, it's basically like you invite two people to this program, just like I'm doing with you now, and then you will get the subscription service waived. So you're basically getting all this for free. And if you invite more people, they actually start paying you. So that's when you're building out your own business on IM. I think there are some people that invited like hundreds of people. I think it was like 15 people or something that you've invited, or your invite, or the person that you've invited, that you start making $1,000 per month, and that's where the passive income rolls in, right? Because that's the network marketing side. You're getting people into this platform. You're teaching them. You're bringing them along on a journey, just like I'm doing with you now. So that's the passive income side.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm all about that as well. So like, I have a couple of Discords going. One of them's just it's all of us. We're at the moment, we're currently just literally got our own little network marketing group going on, where but there's not much income obviously coming through that, and we all just talk about crypto. We're all quite new to the space. Some people, we just had someone come in yesterday who's a miner, Bitcoin. He's an Ethereum miner. So that was pretty cool to start hearing things from him and stuff as well. But yeah, would love to maybe get you in on that one time just to speak a little bit, and you can reach out to a few more people. Because I mean, that's what I would do. Like if I'm going to join the IM Academy, I would most likely sign up all those guys. And then
if you sign up all those guys, then I don't know how big's your Discord, but I think it was 10 or 15 people. I'm gonna get you in another call with the person who invited me, if that's all right with you.
Yeah.
Because he's making 2,000 per month, I think, right now, but just because he built this business on IM, and the person that invited him, because he trained him and everything, and he's training me, he's doing 10 grand per month, right? So that's just nothing. And inviting people and teaching them about this opportunity, like what I'm doing to you with you now, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the I don't know why network marketing gets a bad rep. It's just because of some companies that have done it. But well, yeah, you're helping me, which in turn, like, I will end up paying you back if I join, and we end up giving each other some help and information, and grow through this process together. So it benefits everyone.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, I actually don't care if you join or not. It's just like I think you've watched my YouTube videos and you see how psycho I am and about cryptos. So that's kind of like when you talk, when I get to talk about cryptos, I get fucking excited. But when I don't get to talk about cryptos with people, I'm like, I don't fucking want to talk to you.
Yeah, no, I'm me and my roommate are in that exact same phase right now, where, like, if we're working or doing our own thing for a few hours, we end up back in the room together talking about it for another 2 or 3 hours straight, because it's just all that's on our mind. So it's a really interesting space, and the more we learn about it, the more it's just like mind blowing. So
let's set up another call later on with a friend of mine who invited me so he could talk more about the passive income network marketing space because he knows that way more than I do.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to show you, we're not going to go through this guy's video. But they talk about Zachary Hogan, Jordan Morgan. I started watching them. They talk about NFTs. I'm not sure how big you guys are in NFTs over in Australia, but it's pumping.
I'm like one of the very, very few people into NFTs in Australia.
Yo, man, there is so much opportunity in NFTs, especially for you since you are doing NBA or basketball stuff.
Yeah.
And Top Shot, if you're just looking at the amount of money they're moving through NFTs, fucking mind-boggling. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got some pretty interesting projects moving forward. I have an artist. I represent an artist. He actually draws NBA players, and it will blow your mind. I'll send you a link of some of his drawings. And we're currently working on an NFT project for him, which is going to be unbelievable because he's the first ever collaborated artist with Panini, the sports card trading company.
Nice.
And yeah, that's going to be blown up a lot. So there's a lot of cool things happening there, especially with the NFT space. That's why I'm learning as much as possible about it because this is the future, and there's no point. There's no point learning exponential amounts about things that are going to end up inevitably being the past.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like today and yesterday, just thinking about NFTs and the metaverse, thinking like, all right, probably things that happened in the past, I would never get to experience them. But if you put it in the metaverse and everything is kind of like virtual reality, you could literally be brought back to the past and learn about what happened in history that way. And things seem real. So I don't know if you've ever played Assassin's Creed, but
I haven't. I think I might have played a little bit as a kid.
yeah, they bring you back in time. That's the story. And then you just, as the character, you kind of impersonate the person that lived during that time. So that's kind of like what I see in the future for the metaverse and NFTs. And that's just like, first, that's really fucking cool. And second, it's gonna be super fucking profitable. So
yeah, I'm just trying to learn as much as possible at the moment about everything, like games and stuff, NFT games. That's something that personally wouldn't interest me as much, but I mean, if it's something that, you know, that this generation is definitely heading in, then I'm sure I'll learn more about it as we go. But yeah, personally, it's like for me, the NFTs themselves, like the actual art, I'm starting to actually gain a little bit of love for the art itself. Like I understand what it represents, and you know, the decentralization of everything. But yeah, starting to actually like some artists and cool things that they do. Yeah, I'm actually, it's funny how my mind has changed from looking at what like was a Bored Ape at the beginning, just being like, why are people buying an ape for $100,000? When now I'm starting to say like, oh, that's cool. That one's got like, you know, that's holding a knife in its mouth, and that one's got an eye patch or something. Like, you know, you start to actually find love for the actual art itself.
yeah, man, totally. So let's do this. Can you send me your Facebook because I can connect you with my contact on Facebook because we're all connected, and I'll send you the recording to this, and we can set up another time to meet up and chat about shit. How does that work?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, let's do that. I'll send you an email with my Facebook, and then yeah, anything else. If you want to send me through this link as well, I'll probably share this with